we are again. Like, no time has passed at all. Welcome to the Season 2 playthrough, the next saga in the long Guild Wars 2 story. And, well, for this one, we're starting off here with Ulfric on the outskirts of Holbrack, ready to kick up a new adventure. So you've already seen a little taste, a little bit of a lead-in as to what's happening next. Let's talk about the progress so far, shall we? First of all, we've played through the original game, and we have defeated the Elder Dragon Zaitan. If you haven't checked that out, I seriously recommend you watch the original series that came before this, where you watch us progress through, and we were introduced to various characters that went through ultimately into the city of Arar and did the deed. Following that, there have been a few optional seasons you guys could have watched if you liked. I covered all of the dungeons in the game, all of the explorable modes of the dungeons, that is, and the additional lore that we got out of them, including some very interesting stuff to do with the Sylvari and to do with corruption and whatnot in Arar itself. We moved on after that to Living World Season 1, a grand adventure that came in weird, piecemeal, strange updates over the year of 2013, dealing with the villain Scarlet Briar attacking the world. Now, in truth, as I record this video, Season 1 is not playable, but I have made a couple of videos to fill people in on the gap, and I'm hoping, dear viewer, as you watch this right now, that it is playable, and in fact, what you've seen is a full series of me going through. So if you're in that fortunate position, well, congratulations. Many of us initially were not, because the season is no longer there. So we are now moving through to Season 2, which changed things up significantly from Season 1. Season 1 had been a lot of small releases that didn't really have much replayability. They were reliant on massive zergs of players. They were kind of delivered partly in patch notes. It wasn't done through a journal like the original game was. Well, after a year and a half of experimentation, ArenaNet decided they weren't all about that non-permanent form of storytelling, and they wanted to return to how things were at launch with My Story. And now we actually get a full-on story journal we can follow, and it's 100% replayable, 100% permanent, with more cutscenes, more voice acting, more new maps and places to go. Living World Season 2 is going to be a huge jump up from the Season 1 stuff. The only difference will be many of the characters we now interact with and stories we find ourselves in follow on from Season 1. So we're back to normal here, really, and we're going to be starting off with the Gates of Maguuma. Once we've done that, we move to Entanglement, the Dragon's Reach, Echoes of the Past, and so on, until finally the season ends 8 episodes in at the point of no return. Each of these episodes was essentially its own big release that came out and took the game by storm and introduced a ton of new stuff, and then eventually the next one came along, and that's kind of how the game works now. Eventually we'll get to the next expansion, and that expansion season, and then another expansion and its season, and we will progress. So for now, we're right at the beginning of our journey with the Living World story format, as it will eventually be known. And we're looking at Gates of Maguuma. So here's a message that we get. When a roar was heard from somewhere out west, many worried that Scarlet Briar managed to rouse an elder dragon during her destructive attack on Lion's Arch. Now, mysterious incursions into the Brisbane wildlands have alerted Tyria's heroes to a new threat reaching across its frontiers to tear at its foundations. So we, of course, did see at the end of the season something that looked like an elder dragon opening its eye. It was not a dragon that we knew about. We had heard of Jormag and Zaitan and so on, but this thing seems to be something else. And, well, the story is going to deal with what that really is, starting with true map expansion out here at Brisbane, which Ulfric has been nowhere near. So we will see if we can get an Asura Gate and then move on up through. We'll be at Brisbane shortly. And as you can see, there are all these extra level 80s, and what was once upon a time an early game map, suddenly there's really end game stuff for us to see. These are the areas of Season 2, as we return to a place that was traversable in Guild Wars 1, but up until now has not in the sequel. So that's pretty nice. You'll notice down here it says buy now. So there is one snag to the format, and that is this. When a Living World episode is new, if you were an active player at that time, that's years ago now, you got it for free. You didn't have to pay any money. The game was still just buy the original box, and then that's it. Nothing else is costing you a cent. However, if you missed the original window, well, they ask you to buy it with gems. Now, for me, and I've mentioned this many times, Guild Wars 2 gems does not mean credit card, and I'll demonstrate that now. We need 200 gems, so if I just click buy now, it says this will cost 200. I don't have 200. I only have, if we take a look at our inventory here, 7, apparently. I mean, I don't know why I have 7, but there you have it. So I'm going to show you the process of getting one of these episodes. First, you want to get yourself some gold. I've got about 180 here, as you can see. We'll look at our inventory in a moment. And once you've got yourself a little bit of cash, you need to head over to the trading post user interface. And instead of looking at the gem store here, instead of looking at the trading post itself at the bottom, you're going to click currency exchange. And on the right-hand side, you can actually pick up gems with in-game gold. It doesn't actually cost you anything in real world. So about 100 gold isn't that hard to get. If you've just played through the core game, going through the dungeons will get you a good amount of money. You'll notice that I have a mail here talking about a dazzling new attraction in Lion's Arch. That's a form of endgame called fractals we'll be looking at in due time. And in the fractals, you can earn a lot of money as well. So this really isn't too high of a bar. You're going to get that money and then you'll get in on the season. And then as you play through the season, you do care about getting loot and salvaging things and getting money on the trading post because you're trying to earn the money to buy the next one and then buy the next one. So as it happens, we only need 200. I already have 7, so I'm going to click custom exchange. And over here, I'm going to buy 193. That's all. So it's going to cost me 70 gold here, 71 gold, almost in the 60s, to pick up the episode. And that's it, really. I think if you tried to buy all of these at once, if you interpret this as spending real-world money, it can seem really cheap. But ultimately, you're going to be taking time to go through the patches anyway, so I suggest you do it like this. In fact, I suggest you pick up these patches, if you're a new player watching me right now, first and foremost, before you do anything else. Don't get roped into buying cosmetics, don't get roped into buying convenience items like salvage-o-matics and stuff. Pick up these, so that you've at least still got that direction as you go through the game. So there you go, I just click buy now. And it unlocks. So there you go. Now available to play the Gates of Maguuma. And we can view in our journal exactly what it says. So there's quite a lot that changed here. And funnily enough, this video we opened with a trailer showing off the new episode. A lot of players experience these patches by watching those trailers first. Each time I'll get to a new one of these, we're going to watch the trailer. But also, ArenaNet did what's called a release page on their website talking about the adventures upcoming. And to a large degree, from what I can see, it's quite important to read those release pages. So here, as Ulfric, we're going to get a missive from beyond, and we're going to see what ArenaNet was saying about the next episode. So here we go. The release page is still up. All of the release pages for Season 1 and so on are too. If I click here, this was the trailer that we opened the video with. And what do they say? Well, they say the date is the 1st of July, 2014. And there's a strange disturbance in the tangled western reaches of the Brisbane wildlands. It's up to you to find out what's afoot. Meet up with the Seraph forces in Brisbane and get to the root of the problem. Now, we, as Ulfric, really don't have too much experience with the Seraph, but I'm sure we'll do fine. Here you can see an obvious picture of a new map that we will be able to travel to. It says, strange forces are stirring in the west. They explain a little bit of the lead-in, that the fall of the Zephyrites. Remember, the final Season 1 patch was the Queen's Jubilee and the Zephyrites arriving on Tyria once again. But as they left, all of a sudden, they seem to have been shot down. The Zephyrites are in need of your aid. After they departed from the Labyrinthine Cliffs and festivities there, the Zephyrites met with trouble in the air. You'll need to find the ship and its inhabitants and figure out what went wrong. Now, if you paid very close attention to my Season 1 coverage, you'll know there is actually a hint in the season as to what exactly happened with this ship and who or what is to blame. And maybe you can guess at that already. So the Zephyrites need your help. It looks like a disaster zone. They say digging deeper. We're going to meet up with Marjorie, Casimir, Bram, Rox and Timey and Scruffy to investigate what's causing such a commotion and how it's connected to the fallen Zephyr Sanctum. It will take courage and no small amount of teamwork to get to the bottom of things. So we're going to fight along them. We're going to be against the Inquest. The commotion in the Maguuma jungle has garnered the attention of the notorious Inquest as we venture through Dry Top. Now, Dry Top was the name of a Guild Wars 1 map, so we'll keep an eye out for that. And Inquest of devices and operatives. They'll stop at nothing to reach their nefarious goals, so you'd best be prepared for a fight. And they describe here the idea of elite achievements. So they say this. Once you've completed the storyline for the Gates of Maguuma, you'll unlock access to challenging achievements that will push your wits and skills to the limit. Perform daring feats of valor, strength, and sheer guts to prove your worth and unlock rewards. Read more about the journal feature that's making all Living World story content permanent. So what do they mean, elite achievements? Well, if you recall, as we originally played the game, all we really had to do to get achievements in the story was just play the story. Like this here, the cost of victory. We got this achievement for doing one of the story steps, or we get Savior of Tyria for beating the final mission. That was all we had to do. We got this. Well, going forwards, there are a lot more achievements and side objectives. A bit more like how Guild Wars 1 did its bonus mission objectives in the Prophecies campaign. And their original vision was that you would complete the story once, just normal, experience the story, have fun, and then you had a reason to retry and do these hard objectives. In the end, I don't think those achievements are really that elite, and we'll try to pick up as many as we can. Many are even possible on your first time through. But in general, it's a feature for extra replayability that gets you more rewards and more money and stuff like that, more achievement points. But we're not going to have to worry about too much. So that's really the idea. That's how the new season works. That's how the seasons will work going forwards. All that's left is for us to just head on over. So let's see. I'm going to click play this episode. And as we do so, we'll notice we got a message from one of our friends. It's E, the mysterious person we met last season that corresponded with us and seems to genuinely be fighting the good fight. Seems to be a decent person, but we know nothing about them. A complete mystery so far. Strange happenings. Ulfric Romkerson. I'm well aware of just how busy you are. However, you've heard the theories that Scarlet disturbed one of the dragons. I fear these theories have merit. My eyes and ears in Brisbane wildlands are reporting mysterious incursions into previously quiet areas. Go see for yourself. I hope your curiosity will spur you to action. So that's it. That's why we go to Brisbane. That's why all of the rest of the story happens, really, because E sends us on it, which I think is kind of amazing, honestly. As to ears, I mean, we hear that they've got lots of little birds, little spies. Personally, I think they're likely to be a human. Brisbane is kind of near human territory. It's sort of a bandlands out in the middle of nowhere, so who knows? But yeah, so it looks like Ulfric did at least come to Sorendrar or came to Ratasum at one point. So let's just waypoint over and begin our walk up north to where we're heading. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about gear and what we're going to do to have a little bit of extra fun as we play through here. So first of all, I guess, what does Ulfric have? Well, Ulfric is wearing a bunch of assorted stuff that he acquired while doing the dungeon stuff in at the end of the main story. Okay, so he's in pretty good gear, not perfect gear, and not like min-maxed meta gear or anything like that, but pretty good. So if we look at his armor, for example, this is his cultural armor. This is the wolf stuff. It's level 80. It's rare. Its stat typing is soldiers, which means we're power, toughness, and vitality. So we're pretty tanky, but we have some power damage. Honestly, it's not bad for a ranger such as ourselves. We do have Beartolf the wolf, and we do have Owlson the owl. What a fantastic name he gave this. He, as if it wasn't me. We do have these who don't necessarily rely on our gear, so we should be okay. But we don't have any runes on this. For weapons, well, we've got some good weapons. We have a bow we could equip here. We've got a great sword. We've already talked about how all these skills work, obviously. Gonna have to do this jump here. It was so long ago we were here on Bract. It's kind of interesting, actually. But we can actually do a little bit better. First of all, I did notice that the axe Ulfric was wielding in his main hand, this level 80 rare steam axe, this is not stat selected. So I want to show you guys one of the new features since the last time I was playing through with you all, and it's the customize window. So some gear lets you pick what form it will take. And, well, the more expansions you own, the more content you've played, the more options appear on this list. So because Ulfric has got a lot of the stuff potential to play, he's got a lot of possible choices here. We can type in to see whatever they are. I'm going to go for what the community generally really enjoys, which is Berserker. We get power, we get crit chance, and crit damage. All three of these stats synergize together very well. And, well, that will round out the tankier armor that I'm wearing, the soldier's armor. So I'm going to do that. But I do just want to show you could do anything. You could do Celestial here, which is loads of different stats. Clerics, which is like a Healy set. Commanders, and we can just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Gear like this is really worthwhile to keep an eye out for as you play through. And what I did notice, he had the axe equipped, which meant he got the weapon damage from it. But he didn't get anything additional. Well, here we can get something additional. You can also customize sigils and stuff through this window too. So there we go. We'll select that and equip the axe. And we'll go with that for now. Let's do these little jumps here. Lots of players around. And I will look at what else we have equipped. Well, there is the matter of the right-hand side of our underwater stuff is probably okay. Level 60, level 80, level 60. Pretty much just rewards that Ulfric got as he played through in the Zhaitan campaign and collected. Got gathering items, that's fine. Now, the trinkets are kind of interesting. They're all level 80. I have 2 exotic accessories, these earrings, these opal orichalcum earrings. They're pretty good. I have rare rings. I've got a good backpack. It's rare. These are all level 80. And I've got a pretty decent amulet, but it's not max level. This one's only level 46. So what we did get, however, when we were in the Zhaitan campaign was this aviator badge. Now, I've left it in my inventory until now. Again, it's customizable. We can pick whatever we want. And I'm going to pick berserkers on this one as well. I know this doesn't look too fun, guys, but don't worry. We've got so much game to go through where we can really play with this stuff, and I'll intrigue you all in a second. So I'm going to equip the badge, and if you remember right at the start of the original series, I did talk about how certain gear you can upgrade just to have more attributes if you find like rare gemstones around. Well, here's an example of a very late game rare gemstone. This is a ruby orb, and that's basically more berserker stats, and we can actually put it into the aviator badge there. So there we have it. Oh, we got in combat. We got put in combat by that Skelk. Alson just handily dealt with. So let's drop that in as we go into the swamp here. So that was another little thing that I wanted to do. And we could just get rid of this amulet. It's a very low level. I know it looks rare, so you might think you should get good stuff out of it. But it's not really a very big deal. So don't worry about that. And, well, that's pretty much the site of things. Level 80 set up, mostly rare, some exotic, pretty good stuff. We do have the idea of runes, which I thought I'd play with. So each of the armor slots can have an extra upgrade in it. I went with the runes of the ranger here, since we are a ranger. We want to re-immerse ourselves in what exactly Ulfric can do. So ranger runes give us more crit chance, more crit damage, and a straight up 7% damage increase as long as we have an active companion. So as long as we don't let Alson die, or Bertolf die, we're going to get the value out of that. So I thought that was just kind of a nice, fun, flavorful thing. You really don't have to min-max too much for the story stuff coming up. Okay, we get another wolf here. Let's just kill that with a greatsword too. Beautiful. I said wolf, it's actually a warg. I mean, what is a warg if not just a big wolf? Let's go over to that bridge there. So yeah, we'll slot these ranger runes in. I think for this point in the game, it really is most fun to just play with things that are like on theme and a little bit thematic for whatever your character's doing. So we'll just stick with the ranger stuff for now. Let's drop more down. And there you go. When we put the final rune in, we get the T6 bonus, and they're all there. So that's excellent. Now, what else did I have? Okay, also for beating the Zhaitan campaign, we got this, the Accursed Visage. So you'll notice this is exotic, not rare. This is exotic. It's actually slightly better. It has a different rune, though, so if I equip this now, we're going to get rid of the ranger runes. That's kind of, I did this in a bad order. I guess we'll equip this on the next episode, all right? So don't worry about that. But basically, this is just a better version, and it's berserker instead of soldier, which is quite nice. So I'm going to equip that. And then we have the bow. I think that should be pretty much most of the stuff. Oh, yes. For the Living World Season 1 stuff, Ulfric got his hands on this, a twisted watchwork portal device. Now, this will teleport us anywhere randomly we like in the world. And I kind of thought it might be fun to set that up right here, right now, and just see where we go. You never know. We might end up closer to our destination of Brisbane than you'd expect. So we will do that. And basically, I'm just trying to clean my inventory out. We've got 2 unidentified dyes, which we can, of course, unlock. Wow, we got lucky. We got spring grass dye. Nice. And frosted sea. But the spring grass is actually a rare dye. Wow, I really didn't expect that. So hold on. Let's maybe change our color. So this is it. This is the... No, not frosted. Spring... Here you go. So, spring grass. Let's no longer be orange tinted. Let's be green tinted with this rare dye. Cool. And that's kind of fitting considering as we go out west, you're going to see, guys, it's not just all desolate places like Brisbane. There's a pretty big jungle out there. Seriously. So, yeah, nice. Okay, we got a cool little color to us with those dyes. Of course, could have sold it to earn a little bit of money, get ready for the next purchase for the next episode, but it's not going to be that hard. I've still got plenty of cash here. All right, so let's grab this waypoint. Okay, so I'm going to double-click this Twisted Watchwork portal, And you'll see we just end up in a random place, anywhere. Who knows where? And it turns out we've rolled South Sun Cove, one of the new maps that got added in Season 1. Where in Season South Sun Cove will be, I don't know. We're on the beach. This is great. We look a bit odd since we're not wearing beach-appropriate gear. That's hilarious. We're at Pearl Islet. That's really funny. All right, let's just grab this waypoint then. I don't think it's here we go. Now we're looking ready. I don't think that this place is particularly doing well at this point in the timeline. Consortium obviously messed with it quite badly during Season 1. But have been run off. This is where we first introduced ourselves to Kanak and his story. Imprisoned as he now is. So there we go. We got the Pearl Islet waypoint, and let's head on back. I knew I wanted to use that. I just didn't know where or when, so there you go. Ulfric can do that. But back to Brew. And of course, now we are in Brisbane. We're getting closer. And I think that's pretty much our inventory done. We've got boosters, and I figured I'd trigger these right here, right now. Nice enough. Well, okay, the XP boosters don't really do anything, because at the moment, the game's in a bit of a weird state. Now that I'm level 80... you can actually keep getting experience, and you would be earning spirit shards as you did that. So if you have a look in my inventory here, we'll get spirit shards rolling in. Do we even have a single one? We might not. But anyway, yeah, I got over 100 of them. This is from continuing to level up after level 80. But if you have masteries you can learn, then it's going to freeze. So here, you'll see I have 0 masteries, and my leveling is stopped. And, well, I don't get masteries until I'm in the expansions, and we're not at the expansions yet. So our level is frozen. Experience won't mean anything for us this season, okay? I'm going to play everything perfectly chronologically and in order. And I'm not going to talk about this stuff just yet because it's spoilery. So that's the way I'm doing it, and it's going to be inefficient. There's no reason, like, I'll be beating all these maps and stuff, and they'll be giving me experience, but it's going to go into nothing. And it's just kind of poorly designed from the devs. It's a real shame. But that's the way I'm doing it. If you guys want to play really efficiently, you could skip right now. If you own an expansion, you could skip and you could just go straight ahead into the start of Heart of Thorns or the start of Path of Fire to start putting your experience to good use. But I'm going to do it all in the order that it was originally released and try and give you the truest experience I can, okay? So we can't do any fancy stuff yet. Later in the expansions, my God, the number of things we'll be able to do is wild. But for now... we have to be very careful on cliffs. There's no, you know... I don't even want to say what they are, I guess. So there you go. We basically we'll just keep progressing along, and we'll ignore those. I will trigger a birthday booster, though, which you get for characters being years old. We'll use a strength booster when we get in there. We can increase our magic, fine with that hero one. We can just give ourselves some armor, some strength. These really are not a big deal, guys. Over here as well, I've got cherry almond bars. So we can drop these. Ulfric, Big Norn, like in a feast. You can place this down. Any players could eat these with us. Get brownies on there and all kinds of other things. That's obviously consumable for us. Gives us more magic find, more gold find. All very good for making sure we've got money as we progress along. And now down at the bottom, we have our Hall of Monuments stone, which would take us to the Hall of Monuments. Not much reason to do that, but it's there. We have a Pact Weapon container, which, as I mentioned at the end of the previous series... we get right after we defeat Zaitan, and basically it's a free, rare, level 80 weapon for you. It's not customizable, but it does have a very unique skin. Okay, they're the Pact Weapon skins. This is something we saw from Guild Wars 1. Again, I kind of described this all in full in that previous video. But what I will say is that I want to pick up a ranger weapon that we don't already have. And the first thing I'm thinking is underwater. That's only level 60, that's level 80. All right, that's fine. Underwater's fine. We have axes, we have a longbow, we have a greatsword. How about we have fun? Do these have condition damage on it? No. Should we get a dagger offhand? Should we play with a dagger offhand a little bit? I'm not sure I've done that much. And there have been patches for this recently. Here you go. I think since last time I played, there has been an update to dagger. So let's equip that. So that's the Pact Dagger. It's got like a little bit of blue energy moving up and down across it. And there you have it. So the skills here, we've got Stalker's Strike, Evade, and it also does a lot of poison, okay? An awful lot. You get extra poison if they were already movement impaired in some way. So if they were crippled or whatever, well, or chilled, so we could Winter's Bite. Well, how do we cripple them? Well, check it out. The Crippling Talon. We just throw this out. It's bleed. It's cripple. But what's cool about this, and I don't think this was true last time I was using this, is it's ammunition based. So you actually get multiple. You can kind of ninja style throw daggers out and then just throw another one out straight away, as you can see. And then now they start to recharge. Okay, so we can just throw these as we close the gap, get some poisoning on people, hit them with axe stuff. We're not really spec to do much condition damage here, but it's okay. We can still have fun with it. They do power damage. In fact, one of them does more damage. Yeah, the Stalker's Strike just straight up does double damage if it hits someone who was movement impaired, which is cool. It doesn't do that much, but it's a good amount. I mean, we're low level right now because we're in Brisbane. Once we get to these new areas that E is sending us to, you guys are going to see that the numbers will jump way back up again. So, some Toxic Alliance here, of course, from Season 1. These are still patrolling some of the areas that Scarlet set them up. What their actual motivations are since the destruction of the tower, hey, who knows? But there you have it. Yeah, and the really annoying thing about this experience thing, guys, and I've been avoiding talking about this for ages, is it keeps telling us that our ability is ready to master.
Identified. Attention. You have committed criminal acts against life and property. Surrender or be neutralized. Surrender not evident. Preparing neutralization subroutine. Integrity within acceptable parameters. Resuming neutralization subroutine.
It's kind of funny that we're the same height as the freaking golem here. I mean, for real, it's really kind of crazy. So here, we'll try out the dagger stuff here. So that's one throw. I mean, they do crowd control us a lot. And then we can get in there, shank him, do the Winter's Bite. I mean, we can get our elite up so that Alson hits harder. We've got the Frost Spirit down so that both Alson and the golem ally we have hits harder. This is a pretty long event here that we're just getting to the end of. Well, not that long. He sort of patrolled from all the way up in the chaotic swamp back there.
Getting out of here. Run!
Okay, and it looks like there's a script. Oh, yeah, this was a really weird update that they added, sort of a strange time, a long time ago. I only recently played this content, to be honest.
Integrity within acceptable parameters. Resuming neutralization subroutine.
You see, we get this extremely dirty cog. We can basically clean that up and trade that with people at Ratasum and then take it to the Skrit in Skritsburg.
Parameters. Resuming neutralization subroutine.
I'm going to let the golem go ahead and maybe another player can deal with that. We have bigger fish to fry here as we move on. You'll notice we've just entered the region of the Jungle Entanglement meta event, which I kind of really want to show you, but as always, meta events roll at different times, so hey. But it says there that the passes are currently open, and well, we're going to see the first signs of some of the danger up ahead. So yeah, back to our inventory, just to clean it out a little bit more. We've got a gold find. We got a salvage kit, we've got a repair canister for if we die, and we have a revive orb. And I do think I'll be using these. Okay, alright, I guess I've gone in a slight wrong direction here. Let's grab this this waypoint. So, one thing in Season 2 is going to be over at that fort. Now, if you remember, in the vanilla game, this fort has always existed, but it was being patrolled by big level 80 bandits, and we are forced to be at a low scale on this map, only level 24. So the bandits would just blow us up. They'd just do tons of damage to us and we're screwed. Well, now it's changed. You'll notice that there are vines wreathing around and extending towards us, perhaps to do with the monster that awoke in the jungle. Hey, who knows? And it'll be a bit later in the season that we actually properly go up there. For now, just grabbing this waypoint's a good idea, and you know, in a few episodes we'll see what's really going on at Vandal's Claim. That is not where E is leading us to just yet. We're instead going to be going to the south. There are actually 2 places in vanilla on the Brisbane Wildlands that hinted at other maps. One was behind that fort that we will go behind soon enough. Another one is at the end of a bridge over here, which still to this day in the year 2020 you still can't go down. You still can't cross the bridge. But they also added one out of here, out of nowhere. It was kind of a funny time here at the start of Season 2 because everyone expected to maybe cross the bridge or whatnot. And instead, we got this map and this progression down here. They actually expand Dry Top itself. It has become bigger than it once upon a time was. So, why do I care about a repair canister and a revival? Well, if you guys watch many of my series, you know that I like to do challenges that make things a little bit more interesting. And here's the truth. With all of the balance patches over the years for everything in Guild Wars, not just the advanced class specializations we'll deal with way later with the expansions, but everything.
Integrity within acceptable parameters. Resuming neutralization subroutine.
It tends to be that the game is very power crept now, and players do massive damage. In fact, if you just kind of run through this Season 2 stuff, as I have been in my tests, you can blow up everything and destroy everything, even on kind of mediocre but pretty decent gear like we see here with Ulfric. This is Ulfric's gear level. This is what we've earned. This is what we've worked towards. This is a standard experience we're going for here. But you'll find that Ulfric and his animal companions are pretty much way too strong. So normally with my challenges, to fix something like that in the game, make it a bit more interesting for you guys, I would have it so that we lose all of our gear right now and we have to regain it somehow as the season goes along. And indeed, that was my plan for a long time. If you look at the original series, there were a couple of times towards the end I mentioned that I was saving these bags of loot. The bags of loot are items we've been getting as we were playing the main story, beating just any old mission. You'd get maybe 5 bags in and then another 5. We have 176 of them. I only have 86 inventory slots. This would blow up my inventory if I were to try and open all of these. My original idea was to take Ulfric as he is now, strip him naked, get rid of everything he had, open these bags, and that's whatever he gets lucky out of these, that's all he can wear. And then as we play through the season, all the stuff we earn, we can start equipping and get stronger again. That's how I would normally do things. But even with that, the game's a bit easy. So here's what I'm going to do instead to make it a bit more interesting. We're going in the reverse. This season has 8 episodes. And what I will do is every episode we beat, Ulfric has to lose 2 pieces of gear. We're not going to use these bags again. I'll probably open them at some point and, you know, salvage the stuff down. I don't really have much salvage kit stuff right now. I have this Journeyman's one with 25, so I'll leave it. Look, we got another die. Nice, citrus ice. So what I'm going to do is, as we progress, the game's going to get harder. There's going to be a proper difficulty curve here. I have to lose 2 pieces of gear every single episode. So by the time we get to the end, we're going to be feeling pretty bad. So check this out. I can choose whatever it is I want to lose. Maybe I hold on to my amulet for as long as possible because it's worth so many stats. Maybe I hold on to my armor for as long as possible because it's worth defense. Maybe I eventually decide to get rid of one of my weapon slots because I feel like I can do it without weapon swapping, and so on. But the idea is we are slowly going to get worse and worse. We can beat this. I'll probably keep my weapon swapping and everything the same. But we are going to get more and more squishy as we go ahead. Enemies are going to get harder and harder to kill, and it's basically going to feel like the difficulty is slowly rising. And to be completely clear with you guys, I haven't actually verified how hard it is at the end in this state. So it could be really challenging, and well, that'll be good. It will mean that the final bosses and the final encounters feel like we've actually had a proper, you know, little adventure here as we've traveled through and the game has got harder. So that's the challenge, and I'll see what I choose as we go along. I'll still play with runes and sigils. We'll still change our build around. It'll be lots of fun, but we are slowly going to lose gear slots. I'll probably start with the pure attribute oriented ones at the start. So yeah, that's it. All right, now why have I stalled and stood here? Because this is it. This is the beginning. This, with these weird tendrils creeping along with this new meta event, never used to exist. Now, I just want to be clear. There's 2 entrances. There's this one here, and then I think if you go south more, you can go here. Basically, this is a 2-pronged meta event that procs fairly irregularly. I mean, I've been really hoping while I was talking that it would trigger, but alas, it hasn't. But basically, where I'm standing right now, we would have to fight a new type of creature. Tendrils and weird things from the jungle beyond, from the wilderness out here that never existed before. They weren't enemies in core, they weren't enemies in the dungeons, they weren't enemies in season 1. They are new enemies here now. And well, we can just kind of move on through, thankfully. You can hear the creaking, you can see them. And until you defeat the new enemies, there'll be like big vine walls blocking your progress. A bit like in Guild Wars 1 when we were in this area of the world and we found people could manipulate the environment. So yeah, and the idea is you've got to deal with both at once, and then it opens up, and you gain access to this new area, the Tangle Route. I cannot tell you guys, so there's the other entrance down there, how crazy this place was for me to first explore. Season 1 was really good, and it did add some new maps. It did add new places, some of them temporary. But I didn't really get a sense of real, fresh, new, genuine exploration until here, at the start of Season 2, when a new area was properly added. Not a random island jumped out, not connected to anything else. Not a place we could only go in festivals. A real part of Guild Wars had finally been added. And it was really thrilling to come along. So here we find there's a Seraph. Doesn't really want to speak to us. Nice to see the humans have some influence here. This guy's patrolling. And what you'll find, guys, as well, is there's a lot of detail in these places that most players never really acknowledge. Like this bridge here. if you are a player of Guild Wars 2 and you're watching my video right now, how many of you really came along on this to examine this water wheel? Well, I did when this first came out because I was just so desperate to get every little bit of value out of what I was seeing and what the devs had managed to make, and it just felt so good to be in a new area. You notice that the vines over there are particularly glowy and purple. So the question is, the great mystery on our minds is, what has caused this? Is it related to that eye awakening underground? At the end of Season 1, we did see that cutscene of magic, of a ley line traveling along and striking somewhere out in this direction. We saw it moved past the Tholmanova reactor, which is here. And, well, here we are. So, there's lots of people to speak to. You'll see that there is actually a story instance right here, and we'll be able to meet up with our adventuring companions. There's also a doorway to a new map. I'm not sure. I guess we can kind of skip the story and just head on through. I believe when this first came out, there was a red X on this. You had to do the story to get in. And we've also got a camp of a few people who might like to talk to us here. So that's it, really. That's the introduction, guys. This is the start of Season 2. I hope you enjoyed. That's pretty much everything to catch us up with where Ulfric is, how we're doing, and what we'll be going for going forward. So thank you for watching this introductory-ish episode, and I will be back for the beginning of the story next time. I look forward to it, guys.